Hello there, this is Craig Hain. My students call me Dr. Dell, and I'm a math teacher. I have been for many decades. I've learned math, I've taught math, and I've applied math. That's most important for many decades. Now, the facts are today, any student, virtually any student, can learn the practical math you need for any kind of a technical job in about 60 hours of their time if they will first master a scientific calculator. Now, in the video below this one, I tell you about a great scientific calculator that I personally use and I recommend to you. It costs less than $20, and how you can learn. The calculator has lots of things on it you can do, many of which you'll never use. Like over 50 things you can do with that calculator, but there's only about less than 20 things that you really need to know, and they're easy to learn. And I explain that in the video below this one. Give you all the details on the calculator I recommend to you, but also, most importantly, the things you need to learn, and they're easy to learn. In fact, you can probably learn them. I'll show you how you can learn them with a program from me for about $9, very quick and easy. Now, once you've mastered the calculator, which is easy to do and it's fun, and anybody can do it, it's almost like playing a game, then you can learn what I call practical math, and that means practical algebra, practical geometry, and practical trigonometry. It sounds scary, but it's actually quite easy. In fact, for the algebra, geometry, and trigonometry, all of them together, there's only 36 lessons. And if you put about 60 hours of your time in, let's say you study in 1 hour sessions, most students will master it in that time. You might do it quicker. Some students do it quicker. Some takes longer. It's all self-paced. But what I want to do in this video is I want to give you a demonstration. I want to show you what you'll be able to do once you've done that. And this is something you can perhaps have fun with people you know. As a matter of fact, if you came to me and applied for a job, a technical job, by the way, I've hired many, many people over the years, I would say, do you know practical math? And if you said, oh yeah, I know practical math, I say, fine, then I'm going to give you a practical problem and you show me how you would do it and see how you would do it. Now, the truth of the matter is, I'm going to estimate that 90% of all the high school graduates in the United States today couldn't do this problem. It involves some algebra and some geometry and some trigonometry, all three of them, which, as I told you earlier, you can learn that in about 60 hours of your time if it's taught to you properly, and I'll show you how you can get a teacher to do that. So here's an example of the problem, and here it is. One of the most important things you have in technologies is triangles. You use triangles all the time for everything, so you must thoroughly understand how to solve anything about a triangle. And if you couldn't do that, then you're not ready for the technical job. I want you to learn the math first, then you can come and learn the technology. So here's an example I'm going to give you. Here's a triangle, and I often do this. I have fun with this. I will go to somebody and I'll draw a triangle, and I'll let them fill in the numbers for the sides. Like, let's take the lengths of the sides. So this is 8.2 units. Unit could be anything, feet, inches, centimeters, doesn't matter. Just a unit of length, 8.2. And then I have them down here. They say, well, this will be 12.3. And then what's the long one? Well, that'll be 16.9. Okay? I'll let them pick the numbers. I say, now, I want you to take whatever calculator you use, and I'll loan you one of mine. I always carry an extra one. And I want to see you do the problem. And I'm going to do it along with you. And then we'll compare answers and see how long it took you and how long it took me. Okay? So I'm going to do this problem now with my calculator, and I'm going to tell you what I'm doing now. I'm going to be using all three subjects, algebra, geometry, and trigonometry, to do this problem. This is what you would have learned to do if you'd gone through my practical math program. You could easily do it, and I'm going to show you how I would do it. And I will tell you what I'm doing on the calculator using these things, and you can perhaps remember what I'm doing or write it down and learn it too. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to calculate angle 1. I don't know any way to do the area on this. There are ways to do it without doing the angles, but I want to know the angles too. So I'm going to do angle 1. Now, in order to do angle 1, what I'm going to do, and I'll just tell you, I'm going to let it down, and you can watch me do it. I'm going to take my calculator. I use a TI-30XA, and in fact, I'm going to hit the pi key, and that shows you the value of pi. I'm not going to use pi in this problem, but sometimes I have to use it. And I'm going to fix the decimal points to 1 decimal point. So you see 0.1, and that's all. This is what I teach you to do when I teach you. This is one of the things you need to learn to do about the calculator. Now, I'm going to clear this. Going to clear it, and here's what I'm going to do. And just listen. I'm going to take the side that was 12.3, and I'm going to square it, and I'm going to add it to the side that was 16.9 squared, and I'm going to subtract the other side, 8.2 squared, and hit equal. Then I'm going to divide by 12.3 equals. Then I'm going to divide by 16.9 equals. Then I'm going to divide by 2 equals, and I get a number, 0.9. And it's actually a much longer number than that. If I show you the whole number, it's a big, long number in the calculator. But just looking at it, I'm just looking at the one digit, 0.9. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do inverse cosine. This is trig. When I do that, I get the angle is 27.2 degrees. So I'm going to write that down. 27.2 degrees. Okay? Now I'm not done yet. I want to do the area. So now what I will teach you in geometry is we're going to take the sine of that angle, and then we're going to multiply it times 12.3, and multiply that times 16.9, and multiply that times 1/2 or 0.5, and I get 47.6. Now that will be square units, 47.6 units squared. Now that's the area. Now, something I teach when I teach you math is whenever you do a problem and you're on a job and it's an important thing, you always want to check it. And you always try to do it a different way if you can to check it, if that's possible. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to calculate and figure out angle 2. So this is the thing again. I've done angle 1, and now I want to do angle 2, and then I'll use angle 2 to calculate the area. And if I get the same area, then I know I didn't make a mistake. If I get a different area, I made a mistake in one of them, then I have to go back and do it again. And that happens. I make a lot of mistakes. Everybody does. But you see how fast this is. And I'm going pretty slow. I'm going to go a little faster on this one. I'm going to clear the screen. I'm going to do angle 2. So we take 12.3 squared plus 8.2 squared minus 16.9 squared equals divide by 12.3 equals divide by 8.2 equals divide by 2 equals inverse cosine, and I get 109.4 degrees, 0.4 degrees now. And then I'm going to now use what I learned in geometry. I'm going to take the sine of that, and then I'm going to multiply that times 12.3, and multiply that times 8.2, and multiply that times 0.5. And if there's any justice in the world, if I didn't make a mistake, I'm going to get, guess what? 47. Bill Codger didn't make a mistake today. I got the same answer for the area. So I know now that that's the right answer. So now I know those two angles in the area. If I want to know the third angle, what I would do there to get it quickly, I would take 180 degrees, which is the sum of all the angles of the triangle, which you've learned in geometry, practical geometry. Subtract 109.4 equals subtract 27.2, hit equal, and I get 43.4 degrees, and that's the third angle. So that's what I would do. Now, I have fun sometimes when I'm out talking to somebody that is a hot shot and thinks they're sharp and they know math. I say, well, I draw a triangle. I let them give me the numbers for the sides. They make up the numbers. I say, now, can you tell me what the area of that triangle is and the angles? And then they can take their calculator, if they have one. If they don't, I'll loan them one of mine, and we have a little contest. Now, I'm this old codger. I've been around a long time, right? I'm an old guy. Most of my students will do this much faster. I went slow so you can hear what I was doing. Normally, I would go faster, but I wanted you to hear what I was doing, so I told you. In fact, if you watch this tape and listen to what I did, you could do the same thing without even understanding what you're doing. You're just following a process. Because the whole idea about math is you learn a concept. And then once you learn a concept, you have to learn processes to apply the concept. And in this case, I applied something from trigonometry that I would teach you. If I'm teaching you trig, it was called the law of cosines. And then I applied something from geometry to calculate an area of a triangle when I know an angle and its two adjacent sides using the sine function. And that's how I did it. Now, you can learn all that practical math for most students in about 60 hours of your time. If you'll study an hour session, 60 sessions, you'll learn it all. The calculator might take you 10 sessions. So maybe you're looking, let's say it takes you 20 sessions with the calculator. It won't take you that long. Most people do it in 10. Well, let's say 20. So 80 altogether, 80 sessions. Now, if you study an hour a day for 5 days, that's a week, let's say then, we'll call that for a week. What's 80 divided by 5? Well, I can do it in my head, but I like to use my calculator. 80 divided by 5 that's going to take you 16 weeks. And how many months is that? Well, divided by 4 months. Now, most of my students go through this, the calculator and the practical math training, in about 3 months. I've had students doing it as little as 1. If you really work hard on it, after all, you got to put in about 80 hours. Well, if you put in 4 hours a day, in a week, that's 20 hours, and in 4 weeks, that's 80 hours. You can learn the whole thing. Now, in the video below this, I want to explain to you what is the calculator you should buy and why. It's less than $20, and then what you should learn about it. So you may not want to buy my program, and that's fine. You can learn it on your own. You can learn everything I'm telling you about on your own, maybe. I don't know of any school, though, or any textbooks that teach what I teach for the practical math, because they teach so much other stuff you'll never use and need. I just teach the practical stuff. And when I do that, and I explain all that in that 20-minute video. So when you watch the 20-minute video, you'll learn all about that. That 20-minute video is intended to be educational. Free, obviously, you watch it. And then you can decide how you want to learn math. And I will tell you now, even if you don't like math, you've flunked math, you struggle with math, you can learn math. It is not your fault if you struggle with math. It's because of the way it was taught to you. It was the content and what's called the pedagogy, the way it was taught. It's often not the teacher's fault. They do what they have to do with textbooks and all that. In fact, I wrote a book on how and why public school math is destroying the USA. And that's a fact. And you may be one of the victims. Many students are victims of it. The teachers are victims of it because they have to teach it a certain way. That's just virtually impossible. My program, you're going to find out, is all online, self-paced, you control it all, and very inexpensive. It's not free, but in fact, if you consider what your time is worth, it's better than free. What I will do is, when you take my program and you'll learn this, you will actually save yourself a lot of time compared to learning it any other way that you could probably learn it. Okay? What's your time worth? What if I save you 50 hours of your time? What's that worth? 100 hours of your time. More important than that, once you learn it, and it's easy, people love it. It's not hard at all. It's very easy. It's done properly, it's easy. It's kind of like learning a sport. If you've got a good coach and you learn it in the proper sequence and you learn the thing you really need to know, it's almost anybody can do it. I want to say it's easy compared to how do you learn something without a coach? How would you learn any sport if you didn't have a coach? Very, very difficult. Or what if you had a bad coach? What if you had a coach that didn't coach well? Very bad. And that's what we have today in our high schools, math. Now, if you're going to high school, that's fine. You take my program, you learn to use this calculator. That alone, just learning to use the calculator alone will help you in your math courses in your high school. But if you go ahead and learn the practical math that I've told you about, then that'll help you even more. It'll help you with your high school classes. Now, I won't replace them. They're going to have a lot of stuff in them I don't teach. And if a teacher makes you learn it, you have to learn it. They're all different. You never can. If you say, somebody said, well, what about Algebra 1? Well, it depends on who's teaching it, what book they're using. Algebra 1 can mean a lot of different things. I teach practical algebra, 10 lessons, and so on and so forth. Practical trigonometry, by the way, practical trigonometry is only 7 lessons, and it's easy because of the calculator. Now, you can't take my program on practical math until you master the calculator, because I use it for all the calculations. And you just saw what I just did. You just saw this problem that most people can't do. Most high school graduates can't do that problem. And it's not their fault. I don't blame them. It's the fact that they haven't been taught. So you can learn it. So this is Craig Hayner, Dr. Dell. Please watch, if you're interested in all this, watch the video below, my 20-minute video. And once you've done that, I will also then tell you how you can get my training, which is very effective and very inexpensive, in the 2 videos below that. In fact, it's going to kind of blow your mind, because you're going to get a lot more than just the math training. You're going to get a lot more than that too. But I won't get into that now. I just wanted to give you this demo. So this is Craig Hayner, or Dr. Dell, and I hope you watch the video below and take an action. And I don't care how fresh you are about math or how negative feelings you have, they can all turn around. And that will help your self-esteem. It will also, practical math will get you ready to go into 1,000 different technical careers that can make you a lot of money, make you a very good living, compared to some career where you don't really have to know very much, okay? Well, this is Craig Hayner, Dr. Dell, and I hope I'll see you on the video below. Have a wonderful life.